Hello, my friends. I'm so happy that you could talk with us as we get to interview Nathan and Delitha Myers. You guys know that Nathan has worked on The Chosen, and we have Delitha as a beautiful actress in her own right. And they have come together as award-winning filmmakers, a type 4 and 5 parenting, to truly help us to process through this anxious generation of our kids. We're seeing kids who can't maintain attention, who are struggling with depression and even suicidal thoughts. This TikTok generation is completely hooked. And honestly, as parents, many of us are looking around and thinking, okay, what do we do now? And we know we need good quality program to meet the kids where we're at, content that actually serves them and their development instead of hijacking their attention. So today, we're so thankful to have a couple who's helping to make that exact change. We certainly need it. Wes and I had our kids at camp for a few days this week, and it was so awkward when we were trying to watch a show and we were both like, wait, we can't watch the show because there's a password. And we didn't know the password. Now, granted, our oldest is 19. We were like, this is probably what so many parents deal with. And our kids are masters of tech. So I know you get that. And we were duped. And so we thankfully know that our daughters have had a lot of good social media walks with us where one of them isn't using Instagram at all right now. One of them has her hour programming time lock. And my son is actually just with his first Gab phone, which has no internet. So we're doing our work, but we're also leaning in to know what else we can do. We understand the problems of social outgrouping. And of course, with this beautiful 4 and 5 pairing, Nathan and Delitha really process richly and deeply with us around this. And they have a beautiful project that they're going to share that I cannot wait for you to hear also just more about because they have such an awesome show that they are going to tell you about Aria Appleton, their character, and her struggles through social media in their new movie. She is Aria Appleton Shines is out now. It's on Amazon. You can get it. And it's so beautiful to see them taking this to task and getting to talk about it. It's an honor. It's an absolute necessity. This TikTok generation is going to be taking care of us. I noticed that my girls said at camp last week they were so healthy without their phones, but it took a day or two to get into that space. And after they did, they were like, oh my gosh, like, we're not thinking about our boyfriends as much. And we're, even though they're only in like sixth grade, and we're allowing ourselves to rest and to just be kids. And so just allow yourselves to remember as you drink in this episode with me that you still get to be the parents. You still get to set the boundaries, even though sometimes you're going to be duped like us. So let's welcome Nathan and Delitha right now. Nathan and Delitha, I am so thankful and delighted to have you on the Enneagram and Marriage Pod today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
We are so grateful to you guys for having this time with those who are parents and people who are just overtaken a little bit about technology these days to really just sit with us for a comfy chat and figure out ways they can work on their family's uses. We're not shaming anybody today. We're just giving them opportunities through you guys. So thank you again. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, your Enneagram types. We love to hear it all.
Okay, so I am a sexual 5, and I am a pretty even split between 4 and 6 wings. Just kind of depends on what I have to do in the moment. So if I'm doing bookkeeping, let's say, or just, going through what do we have to do this week, I am a 6. But if I'm in the art space, I'm writing, I'm acting, I'm creating, then I wing 4.
And I am a 4, a strong 4, but I'm also more driven to the safety and security side of that. Um, Dauntless or tenacious, as we've been called, which is the really the counter type in the fours, which is not always recognizable as a 4, but it's me, and I know it well whenever faced with some aspect of it, and you're right in the middle of it. You go, "Oh, that's because I'm a 4." And
You're the self-preserving.
self-preserving,
Yeah,
yeah, safety,
self-preserving.
security, self-preserving.
Mm.
Oh my goodness, I am fascinated by your pairing. I have had actual people also say, please do more episodes with a four and a five. We usually find very prolific people like you guys in that joint pairing. In fact, my daughter being a four wing five, we were just talking about how the four and the five are the farthest points from each other on the Enneagram. And yet, when you can join that space, that dark night of the soul sort of space right there and let God in. Oh my gosh, the light, the creativity of thinking and feeling together is just gorgeous. So it's a beautiful light you share. I love hearing this. And then, of course, you just shared your instincts too. And most of our audience knows that that matters as well. You have your one-to-one creative energy as well as let's pull back and self-preserve and rest. That's also a beautiful pairing. We'll talk about a few shadows along the way, just a little bit, but mostly we're going to talk about your awesome dynamic creativity today with this show. But I first wanted to ask, how did you two meet being these types and a bit of an opposite attract pairing?
That's a funny story. We were both musical directors for a children's theater in Fort Worth in the year 2002. It was summer 2002. I was supposed to be on tour with my brothers, toured with a boy band of my biological brothers for several years. And our tour got pushed, though I had canceled participating in summer camp with Kids Who Care.
And I had just moved from New York to Texas, and my aunt went to, or aunt, depending on what part of the country you're from,
True.
went to church with the woman who ran that program and said, "You guys need to meet." So I set up an interview, and she hired me to do musical direction because the guy that she usually used was going to be on tour. And she said, I think you guys will really like each other. I think I feel like you'll like each other. And I thought, "Oh, I am just fresh out of college. I'm not ready. I need to start my career.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's some hillbilly like missing teeth and they played the banjos together. But no, lo and behold, he was in a boy band, and was beautiful. So here we are.
And the irony is that the director told me the same thing. I said, "Hey, our tour got pushed. Can I still come to camp?" And she said, "Well, I've already hired this girl who just got back from New York, but come to think of it, I think you're really gonna like her." And that's true. I at first when I first met her, like a lot of couples that might you're not sure if the thing you're experiencing is attraction or hatred. It's
Right.
like, what's going on here? I kind of want to punch her in the mouth, but I think I might want to kiss her. I'm not sure. And 3 days after we spent some time together, I watched her on stage just doing she was doing warm-ups with the kids, like doing these, silly circle game warm-ups. And I remember sitting there thinking, that is the cutest person I've ever seen in my life. And then she sat down next to me and lightning struck. And I remember not nearly inaudible voice, like, meet your wife, right? And I'm like,
Wow.
oh, wait a minute. And I had a major meltdown for several days. And so that's how we met. We were directing, what was the show that summer? I
It
believe
was
it
just a like
was an original show.
all work. Oh,
Yeah.
my
But then we actually directed music kind of off and on together for the next 3 years. I continued to work with Kids Who Care. She worked for Casa Manana, the children's theater next door, and got her union card working with that regional theater. And so that's how it all started.
Oh my goodness, how beautiful. And you guys have had such a wonderful background as well. I noticed that when I was learning about you guys, I know Delitha has a lot of theater training through her master's degree. You also, Nathan, have worked on The Chosen and other beautiful spaces. Both of you have met this way, working in beautiful spaces with kids. Continue to do that. I'm just grateful and thankful, especially being a mom of three theater kids. Just
Hey.
my son has done some acting as well with a Becca curriculum. And so just knowing that we parents need good people leading our kids in those spaces. I mean, like, it's extremely important to us. Just blesses my heart because anyone we and let our kids be around, it's like you just have to vet them so much. And as you guys are here, I know you're probably going to tell us about why it's so important for not just the people we're with but the people that our kids are seeing on YouTube and otherwise, why is that becoming increasingly important that we allow ourselves to lean into what they're watching?
I feel like parents have already been undergoing a major onslaught over the last few decades with just the lack of time that they get to spend with their own kids,
Mhm.
especially if their kids are in public or private school. They work 60 hours a week. They're, both oftentimes husbands and wives both working, kids in daycare, things like this. The amount of time that and influence, particularly that the parents have on their kids, has already been limited in the last couple of generations, and we're suffering for it. But this onslaught now coming through social media and devices and TV and things like that, it's sucking up the rest of the time. Because as soon as parents get home from their jobs, the kids are home from school. Where are everybody? They're all sitting on their devices watching TV. Where are they at the dinner table half the time? Still on their devices at the dinner table. And so we feel that we're in a particularly uh, difficult and challenging time for parents. The family that we in our movie, the family unit that are one of the main character sets are called the Battlefield Family, and we named them the Battlefield Family for this very reason, because we're trying to remind parents that that is their first and most important battlefield.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah, and for me, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and she was very obsessed, still is obsessed with a particular book series
Mhm.
that I trusted, a
Mhm.
lot of homeschool moms trusted. And it's not YouTube or anything, but my
Yeah.
daughter's obsessed with books. And this book series, I mean, she knew everything about the author and she knew everything about all the characters and all sorts of things. And then this last year, the author released another book, a point 5 book. And
Mhm.
she introduced worldly things
Mhm. Yeah.
that we had all trusted her that she wouldn't do that. But you know what? We don't know who she is. We don't know if she's a Christian mom. We don't know
Right.
what her worldview is. And so we were all shocked, and my daughter was shocked. And so it is important to to think about who are our kids looking at on YouTube and who are they idolizing and who are they really investing their time in, because you never know what the next video is going to be.
mhm.
You
Mm.
never know what they're going to do in their private life that suddenly makes its light of day in the public world. Yeah, we have to be the first influence. Which I mean, I homeschool my daughter, and so I try to influence her daily and be very active in her life and know what she's looking at, what she's reading,
Mhm.
so that we can protect her as much as we can.
I read some stats this week too, because we're in the throes of this distribution of this project. And
Mhm.
one of the reasons we're self-distributing through Amazon is because we were reading stats about where are kids and teens and young people getting their entertainment right now, and it's YouTube.
Yes.
60% plus of kids are getting 100% of their entertainment from YouTube. They don't go to the cinema.
Mm.
They barely watch a movie at home.
Mhm.
They're not really looking at the TV anymore. They're watching their devices, they're watching phones, and they're getting it primarily from YouTube. And that has surpassed Disney and Amazon and some of these big companies. And
Mhm.
so that's a shocking statistic if you think about, well, what's available on YouTube and what's available on social media sites? Well, it's an endless onslaught of you don't know what. And
And then you don't know what the advertisement's going to be halfway through.
mhm,
Like we're like, oh, this is a good show, and then the advertisement is worldly propaganda. We're like, what?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
mhm,
I noticed that with a working mom friend from our theater, and she was watching her daughter and she was doing her absolute best. And she was just like, what are you watching, honey? And her daughter was even a homeschooler, but she like saw a weird commercial and you could just see the fear in the mom's eyes. I was just chatting with them, and then the daughter showed her a game and she goes, what's that? And the daughter just said, hey, this is just my commercial, like kind of like let go of it. And you
mhm.
could almost see the defeat in the mom's eyes, like, I want to help, but I don't know what to do. So, you guys have given a couple of practical strategies already. First, naming this is not just you. Everyone is in the same boat of having this culture take over. Even adults, right? We looked down for our iPhones back in 2007. We never really looked back up. We have to be really intentional. And so, when this, especially this new Gen Alpha, comes in with this propensity towards shorter attention spans, how did you guys create your show to help this process to actually keep kids' eyes on healthy screen time, healthy family dynamics? Tell us a little bit about Aria and why it would be so great for kids to tune into this programming versus the YouTube they're constantly on, probably.
Well, I would say first that when we were called to make the movie, we were just called to make a movie, go do what we love, and keep Jesus in mind. That was it. It was not a
Yeah.
contrivance of let's go
Yeah.
make a Christian film for
Yeah.
the Christian market. In fact, that's not what we were doing.
Mhm.
Delitha sat down and just started hammering out this screenplay based on a conversation we had had, which was, wouldn't it be fun if you could flip Mean Girls or something like Pitch Perfect or one of these campy public school performing movies, High School Musical, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. What if you could flip those genres kind of on their head and write as a Christian from a Christian perspective towards issues and things that are important to us, and things we want to instill in our own kids versus having to filter or wish. It's like, man, I wish I could show the kids this movie, but I can't because I will, uh and so we that was our first our first conversation, and so that led to what is really an organic film. It's an organic story. It
Mhm.
just so happens that these themes show up. And so when we're looking back at it, going, well, what's in this movie? Well, it's stuff we were dealing with because they say, write what you know. So I think she was writing what she knew. And
Yeah.
that's a big part of it.
And so I'd say, I mean, kids will love the the whole family is going to love it, but kids especially will love it because there are songs that are really great. It's great music, and so if a child and their attention span is like, oh, they're still talking. Oh, well, here's a song. Okay, let's change it up. Okay, we're going to go back to talking now. So there's enough changeover, and then in within some of the songs, and we go inside Aria's head, right? So she can't, there's a little five in her, right? She can't deal
Yeah.
with the situation, so she retreats to her mind and
Yeah.
creates wonderful fantasy lives.
Oh,
So she's in her mind and she creates things, and so there's a couple of our musical sections that are very much music video style, so it's fast, and we have lots of different visual things. There's some animation in it, and so I know when my kids were very little, their favorite part of the movie was the animation sequences, and that was just their favorite part. So there's little pieces for everybody in it, but overall it's just a great story. I think that there's someone that in the movie, represented in the movie, someone that you went to school with or someone you're dealing with right now, and so the kids will identify with somebody in the movie.
mm,
um, so yeah.
We
yeah.
also told it from the main character's perspective. And so the story is narrated by her more mature, walking in the light self,
I love that.
telling a story about her shadow self
Mhm.
and how all of that unfolded and how her machinations and her ambitions and all of this led to uh, her story. And so we're telling it from her perspective. That leads to a rather juvenile approach to a degree. And so we hope parents will forgive us for some of that. We think if you watch the whole project, you'll go, oh, I get it. I understand why this makes sense and why it's told from her perspective. It couldn't really be told from anybody else's perspective, and us appreciate it, especially the kids. If you want the kids
Yeah.
to uh, to take it in and go, well, I don't want to be like that. I want to be like this. They need to hear it directly from that same character.
Yeah, and we would love it to be family movie night when, the parents like make it a thing. Like we're gonna have pizza, we're gonna have popcorn, we're gonna have family movie night, and we're gonna watch this together. We created a parents and leaders guide that can accompany the film so that after you've watched it with your family, we have talking points that you can discuss with them about, okay, well, let's talk about cyberbullying. Let's talk about this protagonist that's in the movie, like her choices. Let's talk about
Self-aggrandizement
mhm,
or selfish ambition. Let's talk about that and how that can get us into trouble. Or, what happens when you deceive your friends and you implode socially. What are the repercussions of that? Well, you may realistically and truly lose friendships. You may lose relationships, and that may not be recoverable. And in traditional storytelling in America, we would have recovered a lot of those things, and everything's a happy ending. But in our story, that's not the case for a couple of relationships, because that's the nature of that type of potential implosion whenever you're being so awful to other people. And so they set new boundaries for you and go, we're not going to be friends. And so
and there's scriptures that accompany the leader's guide so that you can dig deeper if you really want to. And there's I've made some worksheets for the littles so that you can have the littles doing something and they can overhear the conversation with the bigs. So that it is truly is a family affair. It's just family movie.
That. Yeah, and I can also see this as if somebody listening is leading their church group. I know for years I did the littles. Now my kids and their friends are teens, so I mentor like 19-year-olds through their boyfriends and such. But a lot of listeners are probably mentoring elementary kids, and really would be beautiful to see this screened at their churches and in their small groups, because I think that outgrouping is such a big thing. And I love that you tackle that sometimes you aren't going to be invited back in if you do the right thing. Or to your point, when we have an anti-hero protagonist or anyone learning something within a film, it's so much richer because that's so real. That I don't know about you guys, but for me, I did lose a friend when I wasn't acting very Christian in grade school. And so I just wasn't putting them first. I wasn't mature. And so teaching them this is real, and even doing the right thing might not always be popular, can give such comfort and education, and it might not always end perfectly. And I think that's your four wing five wing four right there, being like, let's let people sit with the hard too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, right. And you should. We need to. Life is not always super easy, and kids need to understand our actions do have repercussions. Things can be redeemed, and God is the ultimate resurrector and redeemer. But and we've seen some incredible turnarounds, but there are still often collateral damage and things that you don't intend because of that. And that goes for parents too.
We also, so I've watched this film several times, and this last time we watched it, I found something new in it that I was like, that is beautiful. And it was a different parent set. The father was he stands up for his daughter against this bully. He stands up to her and he's just like, you stay away from her. And I thought, ooh, that I agree with him. Like, like we have to protect our kids, even if that means you're talking to a manipulative little girl who just won't leave your daughter alone. Like, you just draw that line. And
Yeah.
anyway, it was new to me. I hadn't really thought about it. I mean, I know I wrote it, but I didn't, I don't know. I've always looked at it I'm usually looking at it from Aria's perspective, or like the main parent set or the homeschool set. But this character is just he's not in the movie very much, but it just really spoke to me this last time I watched it.
Well, that's also the beauty of organic writing, and Madeline L'Engle calls it archaeology. She says these things kind of pre-exist, and if we're really a conduit for the Spirit of God in our work, whatever we're doing, well, we're just kind of co-creating with God, and we're unearthing something. And you've got your little, brush, and you're dusting it off, and you don't know what it is until you've revealed it. Oh, it's a giant bone. You know, it's a skeleton, and you don't know what it is until you've revealed it. And I think that's what she's referring to, is like, oh, I'd not noticed this in my own work before, but there's this thing here that's a profundity that is new that we haven't noticed until just now. The irony for us is we've watched it hundreds of times in the edit and looking at it from different angles. So it's ironic. That's actually, it bodes well for me and for us. Like, we watch it periodically. We've had to watch it to do QC for Amazon and things like that, to prep it to go out. And every time I watch it, I just sit and laugh and enjoy it. And you would think I'd hate it by now because I've seen it so many times, but
Especially since season 4.
especially because,
It's not unique anymore, but you're like,
not.
the depth the 5 and the 4 created was like, and like you said, letting God in and shine light even on our weaknesses is where his light really shines. And so I love that you guys gave this project over to God and still see the ways he was working behind the scenes in the lives of the parents on set. And I would imagine that there's so many layers you even have yet to uncover. And it's so beautiful for people to be reminded we only learn a little bit each time we take in something like a really good piece of art. So to keep coming back to it will give you and your family great talking points, like, oh, wasn't that good? Like, now we had this other incident happen, which we know is going to happen literally every month or two. Let's give that another try, or let's get the study guide out again. Because I think that the conversations are just wild that are happening. I mean, with our theater group, it was, and it's Christian, it was, something wild happened during one of the productions that I don't even think the teachers know about yet. And I just finished graduation for one of my kids, but we'll definitely be talking to them because it's such a wild world of what they're learning on YouTube, what they're throwing out in little sneaky ways on stage. And it's just a different space because of YouTube and such. So where do you feel like parents would start on the journey? I know we're all going to be different and do it in our own personality ways, but before we talk about where they can find Aria, where would you recommend parents start who are just busy, their kids have tech, and they want to take a step in? They want to lean in, they can't homeschool, don't want to. They would love more hands-on with tech. What do you remind people of?
Boundaries are really important. I think, from my life, so she knows, my daughter knows, you cannot get on that technology until we are through with school. And in her earlier years, it was, you have to have a great attitude during school too in order to receive this. If you don't have a good attitude, then you don't get it today, period. Maybe that's why she's got a great attitude now. I don't know, but she's lovely these days. And then we have an end time, so it's like at 8:30 every night. You're cut off. And for us, it's a little later because she has a missionary friend that she talks to in Asia. So we have to kind of meet. And so there's time limits. And then for actually like what to watch or what not to watch, for my child, even though she's amazing, I think she's very mature. I know that her brain is not fully developed. And so I am not willing to let her do social media at all. Period. It's just, she can't. I like to look at other people and see what they produced at the end. And those now, because technology has been around for a little while, I can see what the fruit is for those parents who let their child just be on technology and run amok. And it's never good. It's very rarely good. It's usually really bad. And now they have these addictions from all sorts of places. And so I don't want that. And so, yes, right now in the moment, it might be a struggle and we might have to fight about it. I don't, because she's just this amazing perfectionist girl, but other people definitely have to fight about it. I can see it with my son who's 3, like we're already fighting about it. But because I know what I want the outcome to be, I'm willing to put up the fight and just to lay out the line. Like, we just don't do that. I will say, she had an issue with the same book series that was really lovely until last year. She found her way because of a friend into fan fiction, which I didn't even know was a thing. It's a thing. And there are these websites, and you don't have to have parent permission to view these fan fictions, and people from all walks of life, all sorts, write the characters, your beloved characters, they write new relationships and new
patterns
venues.
oh,
And she got really dark last year for a little bit. She went emo on me as an 11-year-old at that time. And I thought, what is going on? So I just hopped on that iPad, and she had found her way into the depths of darkness with this fan fiction stuff. And I mean, it was really like, it was rated mature. Okay, well, there's a rating. My 11-year-old didn't know what that was. So I had to cut her off, and have hard conversations that I really didn't think I was going to have yet. And that's not even YouTube. That's reading. That's just novels. So you just have to, be aware of your child, spend enough time with your child that you know them so that you can see changes in behavior.
And I think parents too, part of that spending time with your kids that's tough for parents is what I mentioned earlier. You get home from work, you're tired. Everybody has a tendency maybe to lean towards their devices instead of into relationship. And I know when our 3-year-old, who he's also technically homeschooled at this point, he's only 3, but he wants to be on that phone all day long. And so, and I work from home most of the time. And so I have to be conscientious of that if what kind of example I'm setting in terms of how much I'm on that device. But if you only have that 4 to 6 hours each evening after work with your kids, I think you have to be very intentional about that. And maybe for some of us, I'm not prone to put things on a calendar for myself, but I think that we should probably do that and map some things out in the week to go, even especially for parents that struggle with that are going to have a tendency to just relax and rest when they could be more proactive about taking some time with their kid. I know when the 3-year-old says, "Hey, I want your phone, I want access to your phone, or I want to play on your phone," if that's happened twice in a day, then I know it's time to go jump on the trampoline. It's time to go take a walk and go down to the creek. It's time to jump in the vehicle and go up to the barn, go somewhere together, go do something together. And that's a struggle for dads who might be tired, who might rather just sit around and rest and relax for the evening. But I'm making a conscientious choice to go outside, put your shoes on for Pete's sake, and go do something with your kid right now. Even though it's the last thing I want to do sometimes because of work or a project or something I'm working on, I'm being very, very conscientious to make sure I do that. And I think that's the tough one for any of us, moms or dads. And I don't think personality type matters. I think that regarding that's just somebody's imposing themselves on your time, and it's your own kid. And you're like, well, I could rest, or I could go out with my kid and do something. And so we're doing that on purpose. And for the record, the 3-year-old's cutoff time is this mysterious number I made up one afternoon, where he was like, "Well, why can't I get on your phone right now?" And I was like, "Because it's after 6:30. We eat dinner, and we don't do devices at the table, and we're not doing that. And then it's also after 6:30, and so he now knows that he doesn't even know what 6:30 is, but he knows that that's it could be that's it. That's the cutoff. It's after 6:30.
I will say, so, I've done a lot of research because I'm a 5. And so there's some good resources out there that kind of can scare the parent into doing certain things, like movieguide.com. They've got great articles about technology and YouTube and all this stuff. And then there's Parents Television and Media Council, which has great info out there. And I learned from them that there is more mature content, as we know, than family-friendly content from YouTube, Netflix, whatever. But it's 268% more. 268% more mature audience viewing available than there is family-friendly. So the odds are ever in their favor that your child will see something that they shouldn't see.
There's also the aspect of just considering the health aspects of your kids being connected to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi all day long. We do not, just for the record, we do not use very much Wi-Fi with our kids. We don't allow the Bluetooth to be on at all. And we don't use those tech device. We don't use that stuff. So we encourage you to be a 5, go do some research, and particularly about the health dangers of some of that and potential exposure. If you've not heard those stats on Steve Jobs and others who did not allow their kids to use iPhones for concerns, or that the country of France outlawed Wi-Fi, 2G Wi-Fi in public schools in 2015 due to health concerns for kids. And so there are other ways to scare yourself into possibly taking more conscientious action to protect your kids. And those might not just be moral issues, they might be health issues.
Oh my goodness, that's so awesome. We've talked a lot about the anxious generation on this podcast. There's thankfully good work being done to get phones out of schools little by little across the world. And you guys are reminding us whatever it takes, you are allowed to set those boundaries as their parent. And if they're older, if they're 18 plus, you're allowed to keep the conversations going. They want your stewardship as long as you're speaking to them with respect. They want to be mentored. I know that from having older kids. They're still wanting to glean. They're new at this too. They're in the generations with more. My daughter and I were just doing a generation study, the 4-Wing 5, and we were just looking at these last 2 generations that we've got, the Alpha and then the Gen Zers, and they're just more depressed and anxious, and they need and want solutions to help them to have a good life. And some of them are taking time, like that 4-Wing 5 space. I didn't think about this before you came on, but it is a space of let's do the unique thing, even if it's hard sometimes, because we did the research, because we want the depths, and we can't get the depths if we're giving ourselves these 3-second little dopamine hits all the time. And she said, Mom, even when AI takes over, there's going to be people to want the real life. There's going to be people who want reality. I'm going to be one of those people. And I think that that's important for people listening now to hear. These kids want it and need it. They just don't know how to get there. So you be the hands and feet to lead them there as you also are learning. Keep learning. Thank you, Nathan and Delitha. We would love to hear where we can find Aria so that we can have these conversations in this fun way too. And I love her voice, by the way. She has a beautiful singing voice.
Yes, she does. She's so talented, this girl. But you can find it on Amazon. So if you just go to your Amazon on your TV or wherever and you search Aria Appleton, it pops up. You can rent or buy it. And then if you want the leader's guide, you can find it at
Give, Send, Go. Go to Give, Send, Go and make a nominal donation, and we'll send you the leader's guide. You can send us a penny, and we'll send you the leader's guide. But if you send us something through Give, Send, Go, you can get posters, signed DVDs, things like that, depending on how much you give. But and all of those dollars roll back into just the marketing for this project, just to get it out, light more brush fires in more places for people. But that leader's guide is available there at Give, Send, Go, and everything pretty much is /Aria Appleton or Aria Appleton Shines, and we are at ariaappleton.com as well, and that is a link tree that goes out to all Aria Appleton social media, which is generally at Aria Appleton on any platform. Awesome. On YouTube, it's at Grafted Studios. So,
okay. And we would love everyone to, hop on to Instagram or whatever your social media thing is and like us and share us and just help us spread the word, because it really is just us doing this right now.
Yeah, we do not have there's nobody behind the set. There's nobody behind the wall. There's a dog over there somewhere, but ultimately we are doing this together. Most of our production team members who have been a party to this at some point in history have moved on to other projects for the most part. And so the stewardship of the project is left to us. And so we're asking for your help to just share it with people, pay it forward to somebody, and help us get word out about it. And if you do that, we'll be able to make something else.
We love that creativity you bring. I love that as 2 withdrawing types, you've come together because you knew this is important. It has to be done. We are the ones called to do this particular unique story. And I'm so thankful that you also took some courage to say, please help. We are better together. And the more who follow and share good things like this, the more children's ears will be opened, protected, their futures will be better. Our futures will be better. It really makes a difference. So thank you for using your gifts and inspiring us all today, Nathan and Delitha.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. I was going to say also, just as an aside for the fours, that if you'll do that thing that's really hard that you don't want to do in the moment for your kids, it allows you to suffer a little more. And that's what you want. So, just enjoy that. Enjoy that suffering that is created from having to do the difficult thing. So I'm teasing, but it's somewhat true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this is true. Thank you for that. You guys are awesome. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. I love that we got to have this beautiful and deep and rich conversation with Nathan and Delitha. You are awesome. Keep doing the good work you're doing to protect your families, to learn with us. We're all learning together, obviously, and I'm so grateful for that. Do not forget to check out their awesome links in the show notes for us with Eve Appleton Shines. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.